This starts out our first module, Cloud Computing Basics. In Cloud Computing Basics, we're going to cover traditional cloud computing challenges and concerns. We're going to talk about the benefits of transitioning to cloud computing. We're also going to look at the challenges and inhibitors for making this adoption. One of the key questions is always, what exactly is cloud computing? And we're going to address that as well. We're going to look at cloud computing use cases and examples, and also review some of the basic frameworks for cloud computing. This first class is the introduction. We're going to talk about traditional cloud computing challenges and concerns and the real value of cloud computing to the Chief Information Officers. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. First of all, when you transition to cloud computing, it's not from a green field. It's typically from a legacy or traditional IT platform. And you already have concerns. For instance, how to address physical and IT security when you transition to cloud computing. Modern IT departments are facing that challenge right now because cloud-based and consumer applications are really creeping into the business. How can you adapt to an increasingly tech-savvy workforce? Society is adopting technology much faster than the enterprises. And while traditionally the IT department set all the requirements for information technology, now they're bringing that technology into the environment. And older employees are even becoming more comfortable with this technology. Another challenge is how to integrate these new and changing employee devices into corporate IT. Gone are the days where the CIO could dictate what devices could be used while doing your business. You can't control these devices any longer. You need to securely integrate them, the employee devices, into your corporate IT. Another challenge is how to leverage and deal with the growth of data. You can't just sit by idly. You need to use it. 90% of all data that's in the world has been generated over the past 2 years. Businesses now generate more data than ever before. Now, how do you balance your legacy applications with these evolving cloud-based solutions and operating systems? This is a huge challenge, and it's very common across every industry. Many companies have locked themselves into legacy applications and they can't upgrade. And a lot of their funds is really going into maintaining these legacy solutions, and they can't really transition into new ways of serving their customers. The other action is unsanctioned cloud adoption. This is also known as shadow IT. People in your organization are using cloud and you don't even know it. They don't tell you about it because they're afraid you're going to stop them from doing it. And organizations do not have policies and procedures in place so that you can manage this unsanctioned adoption. Another issue is how to handle applications that work across multiple platforms. This typically involves a lot of coding and very expensive coding. In the past, business applications were stored and accessed data on a single platform. Now these applications have to look at multiple platforms, some that the enterprise owns and others that are outside of the enterprise. The most important aspect is how do you drive business growth? Your CEO is going to want to use cloud computing because their competitors are using cloud computing and they're getting more value in the business and delivering more value to their customers and consumers. This really shifts the expectation that's being placed on the CIO. So you need to address that expectation. Virtualization. Virtualization is really expanding across the enterprise. Virtual servers, virtualized storage, virtualized networks. It's really creating this Internet of Things. How do you monitor and manage virtualization? Virtual machine sprawl is yet another aspect of this challenge. Energy efficiency and monitoring. More and more companies and enterprises are being required to report on their energy use. There is an emerging market for tools for energy monitoring and efficiency. These tools monitor the consumption at the device level or at the application level. And you, as the technology professional, need to provide this information to your business organizations. And context awareness. This is big in the retail marketplace. If you are a store, you want to know when your customer is there ready to buy so that you can push to them discounts and information about what you can offer. You need to really integrate your corporation's data into the social media stream. This is a key business challenge. And also your IT staff. There are waves and waves of changes in the technology, and many of your corporate staff are leaving. Starting this year, an average of 10,000 baby boomers will be eligible to retire every day. A lot of them are IT people that have that corporate knowledge about your IT infrastructure. How are you going to deal with that brain drain? And once again, social networking and IT. You can no longer ignore social networking. If you're looking to implement unified communications and a unified network within your enterprise, social media needs to be tied in as well. That is how people communicate today. And a tablet. It's no longer a toy. Tablets have proven valuable to businesses, and the use of these tablets are taking off. Another aspect is your own data center. The business requirements are now enforcing an increase in the density of your ability to create storage and compute capability for your enterprise. How do you deal with this density increase and the requirement to address it? One of the biggest drivers for transitioning to cloud computing is the CEO coming in and saying, I've heard about cloud computing, I want one of those. How do you deal with that demand? You may need to create a private cloud, or you may be able to take your legacy organization, your legacy IT, and blend it with the use of a public cloud and broker these cloud services. And fabric computing or infrastructure convergence. The pace of change is rapidly accelerating. You need to integrate server storage, network systems, and other components to create a holistic resource pool and deliver that to your enterprise. So cloud computing can really deliver increased value to your CIO. It enhances security through increased automation and monitoring. It embraces the real modern approaches to delivering IT services. It leverages the expansion and explosion of mobility across society. It provides tools for big data analytics. It helps to balance your legacy IT with more modern cloud-based IT. It provides a sanctioned and monitorable path for cloud computing use for your enterprise. It also addresses the challenges of non-scalable applications. Your legacy applications really expose you to this risk because these systems and solutions are not scalable. You suffer from a diminishing returns as you add resources. Also, as the business grows, your cost per transaction increases. At some point, the application hits a wall, and you can really no longer afford to use the application. The goal is to be able to have linear scalability with all of your applications. That means you get no diminishing returns on scale, and you can actually embrace internet scale requirements. Also, you have no requirement to change your application code as more users come online. All you have to do is drop in another virtual machine or drop in another piece of physical hardware and just keep on scaling up. Cloud computing improves the ability of your organization to integrate with other platforms. Think about ecosystem. Your business has many partners that participate with you in the marketplace. Cloud computing enables you to scale with your ecosystem and gives you the ability to integrate with all of your partners' platforms. This enables business growth, and it gives you the ability to monitor and manage virtualized assets that are across your entire ecosystem. This also reduces your carbon footprint, which is very important in today's eco-minded world. Your consumers and your customers can get real-time feedback from your organization by using and leveraging cloud computing and giving through social media real-time information exchange. This also cloud computing enables the BYOD, or bring your own device policies, to be monitored. The next wave is bring your own wearable computers. I myself wear a Fitbit. These are all electronic devices that now have to be considered part of your IT infrastructure. The CIO really needs to look at their cost, and this translates to increasing data center requirements. Cloud computing helps you improve or reduce the cost of building and increasing the capabilities within your data center. This also addresses cloud computing demands from all of your employees and enables you to plan for future requirements, both on the business side and on the IT side. And more importantly, the IT demands from your customers and consumers. Cloud computing is best used in applications that can benefit from the use of parallel processing and loosely coupled processes, and where no a priori knowledge is needed of how the application will be used by the consumer. This graphic gives you just an idea of the growing number of cloud computing vendors out there. And each one of these vendors provide multiple solutions that the CIO can leverage to improve business, reduce cost, and better compete within the marketplace. Thank you very much for listening and learning about cloud computing. The next class will go into detail about cloud computing benefits. look at the security assessment requirements, compliance requirements, and take a quick look at the trusted internet connection. So FedRAMP is the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. This is a government-wide program that provides a standardized approach to security assessment, authorization, and continuous monitoring for cloud products and services. FedRAMP was the result of close collaboration with cybersecurity and cloud experts across the federal government. The Federal CIO Council and its working groups, as well as private industry. The goals of FedRAMP is really to accelerate the adoption of secure cloud solutions through the reuse of assessments and authorizations. It is supposed to increase the confidence and security of cloud solutions, achieve a consistent security authorizations using a baseline of agreed upon standards. It's designed to ensure consistent application of existing security practices, increase the confidence in security assessments, and increase automation and near real-time data for continuous security monitoring. FedRAMP's program benefits include increase in the reuse of existing security assessments across all government agencies. It saves significant cost, time, and resources. It improves real-time security visibility and provides a uniform approach to risk-based management. It enhances transparency between government and cloud service providers and improves the trustworthiness, reliability, consistency, and quality of the federal security authorization process. The FedRAMP Joint Authorization Board will review the security assessment package based on a prioritized approach, and it may grant a provisional authorization. Federal agencies can leverage cloud service provider authorization packages for review when granting an agency ATO. This saves both time and money. The objective of the Joint Authorization Board is to define and regularly update FedRAMP security authorization requirements in accordance with the Federal Information Security Management Act of 2002 and Department of Homeland Security guidance. The JAB also approves accreditation criteria for third-party assessment organizations, also known as 3PAOs. 3PAOs provide independent assessments of cloud service providers' implementation of the FedRAMP security authorization requirements. The JAB establishes and publishes priority queue requirements for authorization package reviews and review authorization packages for cloud services based on the queue. Continuing with the objectives, the Joint Authorization Board will grant provisional authorizations for cloud services that executive departments, agencies, and other government organizations can use as an initial approval in granting security authorizations and the accompanying authority to operate. They ensure that provisional authorizations are reviewed and updated regularly and work with the FedRAMP Program Management Office to notify departments and agencies of any changes. The JAB will also establish methods for input to the FedRAMP security authorization requirements from all executive departments and agencies. FedRAMP security authorization requirements will include a baseline of security controls, privacy controls, and controls selected for continuous monitoring from the NIST Special Publication 853. The JAB will work with the Department of Homeland Security's National Protection and Program Directorate to further develop continuous monitoring standards to include near real-time monitoring and continuously verified operating configurations, as well as coordinated security incident response and threat notification. The FedRAMP security authorization requirements will require review by qualified third-party assessment organizations. The JAB will approve the criteria necessary to qualify 3 PAOs according to their independence and their quality management specifications. They will also look at the technical competency criteria based on an evaluation of knowledge of security authorizations to ensure that the requisite skills and expertise to conduct such an assessment. The FedRAMP assessment process is initiated by agencies or cloud service providers and begins a security authorization using the FedRAMP requirements, which are FISMA compliant and based on the NIST 853. CSPs must implement the FedRAMP security requirements on their environment and hire a FedRAMP-approved 3 PAO to perform an independent assessment. The JAB will regularly review accreditation criteria, and according to the FedRAMP policy memo, the JAB will provide the accreditation criteria to approve 3 PAOs to the FedRAMP program. An important responsibility for the JAB is to review authorization packages provided by the PMO on a rolling basis and in a timely manner. The JAB will publish the priority queue requirements on fedramp.gov in order to ensure transparency into the process. It will also regularly review the queue requirements and update them as necessary. The JAB will provide the priority queue requirements to the PMO and will prioritize cloud systems for their review. In granting provisional authorizations for cloud services, executive department and agencies could then issue authority to operate. The JAB will grant provisional authorizations by evaluating the packages. The JAB may or may not issue a provisional authorization based on the overall evaluation of artifacts provided and the resulting determination of the risk level of a cloud service provider's environment. The authorization could also include additional risk statements or conditions based on a review of the materials. The JAB will ensure that provisional authorizations are reviewed and updated regularly. At a minimum, the Joint Authorization Board must invite all executive department and agency CIOs to one JAB meeting a year in order to provide input to the FedRAMP security authorization process. The JAB will work with the FedRAMP Program Management Office to establish methods for regular input by all executive departments and agencies. Members of the JAB include the Department of Defense CIO, the Homeland Security CIO, the CIO from the General Services Administration. Their general duties and responsibilities include the designation of JAB technical representative, the issuance of joint provisional authorization decisions, the resolution of any issues as needed, and the definition of FedRAMP security authorization requirements. Additional responsibilities of individual JAB members include the Department of Homeland Security's responsibility for leading the government in operational aspects of federal agency cybersecurity for information systems under FISMA. They must manage the FedRAMP's continuous monitoring for compliance to FedRAMP. The GSA CIO also has additional responsibilities, which include the management and guidance of the FedRAMP Program Management Office, the establishment of standard FedRAMP templates. They must act as a liaison between agencies, cloud service providers, and the JAB. They manage all program communication and outreach, provide contract language templates and sample service level agreements, and they standardize agreements to government information exchange between the executive departments and agencies and the FedRAMP PMO. The JAB technical representatives are composed of designees from the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, and the General Services Administration. Their general duties include providing subject matter expertise to implement the direction of their respective JAB members, support of the FedRAMP office in defining and implementing the provisional authorization process, and recommending provisional authorization decisions based on the assessment of the respective JAB members. The FedRAMP PMO will work with the JAB to create a process and framework for federal agencies to meet FedRAMP requirements. They also facilitate the provisional authorization process and implement a conformity assessment program to qualify and approve 3PAOs. They also prioritize reviews of cloud systems according to the queue requirements approved by the Joint Authorization Board, and they conduct outreach and education on FedRAMP. Other important contributors to the FedRAMP program include the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the Office of Management and Budget Policy. The CIO Council publishes and disseminates information from the FedRAMP PMO and JAB to executive departments and agencies. They also will publish the standardized baseline of security controls, privacy controls, and the controls selected for continuous monitoring. They will coordinate the vetting of controls and requirements and publish all FedRAMP documents. All FedRAMP JAB decisions must be agreed to by a majority of the JAB authorizing officials. Security authorization requirements, 3PAO criteria, and priority queue requirements are also reviewed. Provisional authorization reviews and updates and all methods for input to security authorization requirements are also under the jurisdiction of the JAB. Per the Office of Management and Memo Budget, all low and moderate impact cloud services leveraged by more than one office or agency must comply with FedRAMP requirements. This is applicable to all executive departments and agencies that are procuring commercial and non-commercial cloud services. It applies to all cloud deployment models as well as all cloud service models. Assisting government-wide and agency-specific efforts to provide adequate, risk-based, and cost-effective cybersecurity is a key responsibility for the Department of Homeland Security. They coordinate all cybersecurity operations and incident response, and they also provide appropriate assistance where necessary. They develop the continuous monitoring standards for ongoing cybersecurity of federal information systems and develop guidance on the agency's implementation of the Trusted Internet Connection Program with cloud services. Executive departments and agencies have critical compliance roles and responsibilities as well. They must use FedRAMP when conducting risk assessments, security authorizations, and in granting authority to operate for all executive departments or agencies that use cloud services. They must use the FedRAMP PMO process and the JAB-approved FedRAMP security authorization requirements as a baseline. They need to ensure that applicable contracts appropriately require the cloud service providers to comply with FedRAMP security authorization requirements, and they must establish and implement an incident response and mitigation capability for security and privacy incidents for cloud services in accordance with DHS guidance. Executive agencies and departments must ensure that the acquisition requirements address maintaining FedRAMP security authorization and that relevant contract provisions relate to the contractor review and inspections are included. Consistent with DHS guidance, they must require that the CSPs route their traffic such that the service meets the requirements of the Trusted Internet Connection Program. They also must provide to the Federal Chief Information Officer on an annual basis a certification in writing from the Executive Department or agency CIO and the Chief Financial Officer, a listing of all cloud services that an agency determines cannot meet FedRAMP security authorization requirements with appropriate rationale and proposed resolution. The CIO Council will publish and disseminate information from the FedRAMP PMO and JAB to all executive departments and agencies. Referenced before, the Trusted Internet Connection Program has the objective of optimizing and standardizing the security of individual external network connections that are currently in use by federal agencies. This includes all connections to the internet. This is being done to improve the federal government's security posture and incident response capability through the reduction and consolidation of external connections, and it provides enhanced monitoring and situational awareness of external network connections. Its components include the reduction and consolidation of external access points, the management of security requirements for network and security operations centers, and the establishment of a compliance program to monitor department and agency adherence to TIC policy. This is applicable to any agency that's designated as a TIC access provider and all commercial carriers that have been designated as managed trust IP service providers. All federal executive civilian agencies that are procuring network services or using TICAP services must also comply with the TIC program. FedRAMP lays the foundation for a secure government community cloud. Please take one or more of our other FedRAMP classes in order to learn more. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.